The College Football Experience South Florida Bowls 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your first time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. They just introduced college football best ball, folks. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm's college football and NFL picks and projections are now live. Claim your 7-day free trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, this is Pac-Man Jones. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Welcome to the College Football Experience, USF, yes, the South Florida Bowls 2024 season preview. This is one of the more exciting teams to talk about, I think, coming into the season, because if you look at the job that Alex Galesh has done in just 1 year, I mean, he inherits a team that was 1-11. And he goes 7-6, beats Syracuse by 45 points in the bowl game. Syracuse just you might want to end the football program after a loss like that. Yeah, I know they had opt-outs, they had coaching firings, but still 45-0 is 45-0. Big time year though. And I think it gives, I mean, 7-6 is not, I guess, a big time year, but it's a big time jump. When you improve by 7 times the amount of your wins the year before, I would say that's a very, very, very encouraging first year. YouTube.com/the college experience as we break down all 134 college football teams in the land. Hop on over there, hit that like and subscribe button. Shout out to Benedict Dantold in the chat. He said, "What's up, TCE? I finally get to watch one of these live ones." There we go. We can all that's what I'm saying. You're listening to this thing, hop on over there. You might be listening to this in your car, but the next episode you could be watching it live, youtube.com/the college experience. So do that. If you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
I mean, this program's not that old, and they had that. They were rolling under Jim Levitt. I mean, questionable firing, so he choked the kid or something. Pulled the old Bobby Knight, right? I think he punched. I don't remember what it was. It was something like that, like choke or punch. He won a lot of games. I'm joking, folks. I love the fact I would probably get a 1-star review in that. I condone choking players like Bob Knight. No, I'd just say the guy won a lot of games and you haven't won as much since he's gone. Both can be correct. Anyway, I am joined by my co-host. You've heard him on the NBA Gambling Podcast. You've heard him on the MLB Gambling Podcast. And you've heard him right here on the College Football Experience on a few of these previews. Give it up for Latte Smith. How are you doing?
Kobe, man, I'm doing good. Excited to talk some Bulls football. Exciting team, man. One of the most exciting teams in the AAC. Love what the coaching staff has been doing. Hopefully they can keep it going, man. And I'm looking forward to the season. I kind of tipped my hand a little bit. I didn't know we were gonna do this preview together, but in the Memphis preview, I kind of told everybody, I like South Florida to get to the championship game to face Memphis. So that goes to show you how high I am on them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to breaking it down with you.
Oh yeah, I sought you out after you said that shit. I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting him on the show. But you're right. It is like, dude, that turnaround. Now, I guess if I'm searching for things, I gotta pull up Alex Galesh, youtube.com/the college experience. Got some slides. 7-6 in year one. He coached under Josh Heupel, Jim Tressel, Tim Beckman, and Matt Campbell. All a pretty good, coaching tree there. OC is Joel Gordon, DC is Todd Orlando, but I mean, they almost beat Alabama. I mean, it was when I say almost, I think it was 17-3, but this thing was like a 7-3 game in like the fourth quarter or something. It was something like that. Now, granted, that was before it wasn't a monsoon, first off, but also it was before they started Tyler Buckner, before they went to Jalen Milroe, which we can have another conversation about that. I could talk about an hour. It's like you didn't know. You're supposed to be the best coach ever. You didn't know which one was better. Sorry, Coach Saban. I think you are very good, but maybe not on the offensive side of evaluation with the quarterback spot. Or you're just punishing him. I tend to think of the conspiracy theory of like maybe he had pissed him off and was like, "Hey, you're out this game," because you don't need a rocket scientist to tell you which one. I could watch one play and be like, this guy's super fucking athletic. But anyway, 17-3, I thought it was a very good showcasing for South Florida. Now, if I'm, on each one of these episodes, I try to, talk about why it's amazing that they had that year, but also what can I poke holes in? If I'm poking holes in this, it's hard to really do because he won 7 times the amount of games as the year before, which is an amazing first year for any coach ever. You know what I mean? Like, right. But I will say they did not beat a team with a winning record. That's the only thing that Rice ends up making a bowl, but they lose the bowl game. So they go 6-7. Syracuse obviously losing 45-0, 6-7, and a 3-point win against UConn. I like, okay. Honestly, like the best win on the schedule might have been Florida A&M because if you throw out the bowl game, Florida A&M was good last year. If you watch Florida A&M, you're like, hey, that was a pretty good football team. I mean, Rice, I would say Rice, Florida A&M would be if you throw out the bowl game, if you're going to, because all these Syracuse fans goes, that game doesn't count. I did the Syracuse preview and they kept saying that. Well, it does count because we're talking about it. It's on the fucking record books. All right. Have some pride and score a fucking touchdown, you losers. But yeah, I mean, I guess that would be the red flag. Maybe I don't think there is a real red flag, but I'm saying if I'm searching for a reason like that, hey, what could he do this year to step it up, beat a team that's a good football team by definition with a winning record. But still, you look at this, the way they played Bama, who played in the college football playoff, like I said, 7-3 game in the fourth quarter. The Memphis game was just insane. 59-50. They were in that game with Memphis. And the only like real blemishes was that first couple of weeks of October. I don't know how the hell UAB put up 56 on them. And then the very next week, Florida Atlantic put up 56. Both those teams were not very good a season ago. But other than that, like it was encouraging. And another thing is, I get, didn't they start out with like Jerry Bohannon, and then they found they found Byron Brown and realized, hey, what are we doing here? But I'm trying to. What was the negatives of last season?
Yeah, I think you hit on it with the not performing against good teams in a way. But again, I thought their performance versus Alabama, although they lost, they easily could have won that game. I think they were actually up 3-0 going into the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe at the end of the third quarter. So I thought that was impressive for them to hang on, like physically. Like Alabama is a physical team, and I think that them holding up against them that early in the season was telling on what to foresee like going forward with the team. I mean, just the defense, especially the pass defense, was atrocious. So that has to be better. So I thought that was a blemish. Maybe that goes hand in hand with kind of the offense going at a fast pace. But yeah, I thought just not performing against these elite teams to a certain level and getting a win, I think that's what stood out the most. But I think, it's early in the process. I think this year we'll see a leap in more competitive and lower scoring by the defense, or lower scoring allowed by the defense. So yeah, I'm looking forward to them kind of capitalizing on what they had in this first year and going forward to springboard into this year.
Yeah. And like I said, I want to make sure the audience knows this. We think he did an amazing first year. You know, like amazing job coaching his first year. But, you know, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, looking for, hey, what can they get better at? We're going to talk about some of that in a second, but also talk about what they did great and why South Florida fans should be super excited. But before I do that, I do want to mention that you're listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And check out the Sports Gambling Podcast because they just launched their 32-team NFL preview series. Yes, we know the season is about to kick off, even though they have that wacky ass NFL kickoff that they got to get rid of. But look, they're doing 32 episodes. So you're a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, listen to this, Miami Dolphins fan, Jacksonville Jaguars, or whoever. All right. We're doing an episode for you, your NFL team. Sports Gambling Podcast. Check it out. And look, as a bonus, each team preview will include a code word. Submit the 32 code word phrase, and you could be the lucky winner who gets a $500 NFL Circa future bet. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. All right, back talking South Florida Bulls football. Now, here's one concern I do have. All right, before we jump in, like really jump into the history and then their offense, defense, special teams, and go game by game on the schedule. If he has too good of a year this year, like you are projecting, he's probably going to be Florida Gators' next head coach. You know what I mean? Like if you're South Florida, this sounds crazy, but in a way, it's like, okay, if you win the AAC, if you're in the championship game like Lante had projected, and we'll dive deeper into his projections, but you know. A, you could be making the 12-team playoff, but B, there's a decent shot he's gone if that's the case, because the guy is very young and he's obviously been cutting edge with the way that Tennessee turned around, the way he was at UCF with Heupel as well, you know, and what he did with Matt Campbell at Iowa State. So like it's you're kind of in this limbo. You got to, and shout out to South Florida. I know they got an on-campus stadium they're building. I think that's going to be very exciting for the program, but can you make the argument, Lante, that you want to win, but you don't want to win too much this year, or is that just crazy talk?
Yeah, I think it's like a gift and a curse, to be honest. I mean, we didn't even talk about this before, but this is one of my hitting points too. I think that their success is gonna probably be, you know, their success is gonna be their biggest downfalls, because somebody's gonna pick them apart. I mean, somebody's gonna pick them.
Oh yeah,
you know, take them away. Like it's going to be several jobs opening up. I can think of like 5 off the top of my head, and these are like big time jobs, like SEC, Big Ten, even ACC. You know, might open up as well. And with all the coaching like moving around, you know, some of these coaches are leaving for lesser jobs in the same sport, or even going to the NFL being positions coaches. I mean, we saw it with Chip Kelly step down from UCLA to go be an OC at Ohio State. So, I mean, I think more of that is to come. So you never know with the coaching carousel. And obviously an innovative guy. He's got good ties to that Florida, to that state of Florida with his time at UCF, and now at South Florida. So I think if you're a Bulls fan, I think you're just gonna, similar to the basketball team. You saw what happened with the basketball team.
Yeah.
So man, I think, I don't want to say it, but I think this is going to be his last year if he performs how I think he was going to perform.
Yeah, I mean, to think that Miami could open up, or Florida, or you know, South Carolina, or there's just so many ones. I mean, if Doran leaves NC State, you know, there's a lot of different scenarios where you're just like, I think he would be one on a short list to call, you know, for a lot of schools. So, but they still got to win some games. If you go 7-6 again, you might be fine. You might be fine for another year. But I still think I'm with you. I think you go all in. Maybe, you know, you go all in. If you win, you make the playoffs this year, you build on that. If he's gone, he's gone. But look, we do this exercise. Well, for the Power Five, we look at the worst loss, but I like to give love to the Group of Five. The best win. And dude, South Florida under Levitt, like I said, before he punched or choked the player, they were fucking rolling. They were rolling. They were in the Big East. And they were beating a lot of really good teams. At one point, they were number 2 in the nation in 2007. So they have a lot of these. I have 2 pages of best wins here. I mean, you look at this. What is the best win? And I put those asterisk next to Louisville because Louisville was top 10 in the nation when they came into Raymond James Stadium and whooped their ass 45-14. And they got Louisville a couple times. Got them 55-17 as well. Notre Dame at Notre Dame, they went there and won 23-20. They took down Miami 23-20. Florida State in Doak 17-7. I mean, they've really got some quality wins. Clemson, they beat Clemson, but
at NC
why do
State,
I feel like that Florida State one might be the one though?
Yeah,
that
I think
Miami,
Florida State.
Right?
Yeah, I think Florida State or Florida State, Miami. It's between those two. I would say the Louisville though. They smacked them both times when they multiple times.
Yeah.
So,
and they're a program though. Like when I was doing my homework on this, I was just like, it's amazing that they were as good as they were in the Big East, and then Syracuse got the call. You know what I mean? Boston College got the call. West Virginia got the call. Pitt got the call. Louisville got the call. And UCF's phone, they didn't get the call.
So I'm like, more to do with basketball, probably.
Yeah, maybe so. Because at that point they were probably looking at both a little more heavily, but it is a bit of a head scratcher when you think like, dude, they were whooping a lot of these teams' ass back then. And it's like they got the call, not South Florida, but maybe the future. Maybe that's another thing that could happen too. So we didn't talk. Maybe Galesh will stay if the Big 12 says, hey, let's go into that Tampa market. You know, it's possible. Look, folks, I want to talk more about the USF offense because they were fire last year. But before we do that, I got to let you know that the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog Fantasy just launched Underdog Streaks. Hit your first 2 pick'em entries and then we're going streaking. All right, bring your green hat. Look, if you go on an 11-0 run, you can win 1,000 times the amount of money you enter. Plus, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. Plus, they just added another college football contest for Best Ball. We just dropped an episode covering college football, best ball. You know, we did a live draft on Underdog Fantasy. Drop that as an episode. Go listen to that because we're going to be doing that all season. You better believe it. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries. So what do you do? It's sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of the MLB, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Even down there in Florida, where every time I watch a Marlins game, it looks like one of my stand-up shows. There's like 17 people there, and I'm not even convinced they're there to watch baseball. It looks like they're like someone asked them, "Hey, can you please show up to the game?" You know what I mean? You look in the crowd, and I feel like Tampa, it's a little bit better, but it's still not thriving, I would say. But even in those places where you could just go right up to roll call, just like you're going to watch like a movie, right? And just say, "Hey, I'll take 2 for this." Right. If you pull out the Game Time app, you're still going to get a better deal than what they're dishing out there. So that is why you want to make sure you get the Game Time app. Even, like I said, authorized ticket marketplace of the MLB world, where, we're getting closer and closer to the World Series. But yeah, Game Time, the fact that they are the ticket marketplace of the MLB means a lot of things, like getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets the first pitch, with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And look, they got college football tickets. They got tickets for everything. You want to go see a play with your wife, you know what I mean? Whatever they got, you bust it out. You're gonna go see the Nutcracker for Christmas. They got you covered. All right, whatever the fuck you want, ticket wise, they got you covered. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the redeeming code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create that account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. We are back. Shout out to the chat. Rocking along. Timothy Green, EB Steelers. Yeah, I've been waiting for Florida Gulf Coast to get that football program rolling too. What are they doing in Florida? You kidding me?
Oh my goodness.
It's like the talent in
yeah.
That's always a good debate, is like Florida, Texas, California, Georgia. There's so many good football states, but you got to think Florida. might have the leg up on everybody there. I mean, Texas, I don't know. The Texas loves to remind you of every damn player that's ever been there. You got a Texas. You could bring up a conversation about something completely off the wall. You know what I mean? Like you're looking for directions to Austin. It's like, yeah, Earl Campbell went to high school here, but you want to go there, right? So they're going to remind you of all that shit. But Florida, I think, subtly one of the better ones, if not the best. The offense a year ago, pretty fire in his first year, considering they were 1-11 the year prior. Considering they had a quarterback change, but I think that quarterback change was a lot of the reason why these numbers went up so much from the year prior. 32nd in the nation in scoring per game, just about 32 points per game. That was 4th best in the AAC. 17th in the nation in yards, running that veer and shoot. 31st in passing, 32nd in rushing. All of those top half in the AAC. I mean, well done, Alex Galesh. You're an offensive guy. Year one to get these numbers out of your offense. Is there one that jumps out more to you than the other, or is it just all just like, wow, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's all pretty good. I'm interested to see how he does in year two. I want to know if he'll lean more on the run a little bit more to kind of help out his defense, because whenever you're playing as fast paced as they do, and as quick as they do, no huddle. I think they were first in plays per game. I think 4th in drives per game. So they're putting a lot of pressure on their defense to kind of stay on the field for a long time because they're striking first and striking fast. So I'm interested to see if he want to mix in a little bit more run. I mean, we saw it with Tennessee last year. Tennessee had 3 really good backs, and I know he comes from that same tree. So maybe he wants to get those running backs more touches to kind of take some pressure off the defense. But overall, I mean, the numbers were outstanding coming in. I think they'll be even better with the full year of Brown. He had a full offseason going in, knowing he's a starter, knowing what he's dealing with, got a solid O-line. So, yeah, I think they'll only improve going forward.
Yeah, and he's referring to 9 starters back on the offensive side of the ball. YouTube.com/the college experience, and their kicker John Cannon. He's got a real fucking cannon, but of a leg there. But Byron Brown, I would say, trying to think if there was a more. I don't want to just say something. I mean, I'm used to saying stupid shit and then having it come back on me, but I feel like Byron Brown is perhaps the biggest like star freshman quarterback of a season ago. I'm trying to think in my head. I'm like, wait, did someone? I guess you got. Well, no, Nico only played 1 game. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I would say Byron Brown is a the quarterback that as a freshman impressed more than any in the nation, perhaps.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I mean, he's a North Carolina kid too. I saw him play in high school a lot. He was a finalist for North Carolina Mr. Football in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Man, real good kid. I've met him a few times. Man, really good kid. He's like looks up to Hendon Hooker, so obviously you can see kind of the Tennessee connection there with Heupel and Alex. So yeah, I think he's going to be a stud still in this offense. Couple of high.
I know there's a big time tropical storm going over North Carolina right now, so we might have lost him. Oh, he's back. You cut off there for a minute.
Oh, we're back. Yeah.
So last thing I think we heard was the fact that Galesh with Hendon Hooker.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I think a couple of Power 4 programs were like poking around trying to get Brown away from South Florida. So I'm glad they got him to stay.
I believe that. And by the way, yeah, Benedict Dantle, that's a good one too. Noah Fifita's a baller too.
Yeah. He played. Was he a redshirt freshman or was he a true freshman?
I think he was a redshirt freshman. I'm actually I'm kind of friends with his dad, so it's like that one was even cooler because it was like, but almost like you said, you saw them in high school for Byron Brown. Fifita, similar situation here, but yeah, both were fantastic. My point is though, is that for the future of college football, you look at them and yeah, I do think, that's another thing. We talked about Galesh. One of the reasons why he might leave is he's like, I don't know how long we can hang on to Byron Brown before a big time school just says, hey, not that South Florida's not big time. All right. But I'm just saying he's really good and they can offer a lot of money to him because he was damn impressive a season ago. He's back. Obviously got to avoid the sophomore slump. I've said this before. This is a real thing. It's a real thing. I really buy in, especially at the quarterback position, because you show up to college, you ball out your freshman year, and you're kind of the man on campus. So, you're not paying for drinks. Girls are a little more friendlier. It is easy. You're 18 years old. You know what I mean? Some cases 17 years old. There's no I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I would have been. I still think I'm in my sophomore slump. That shit's been like 20 years, right? And but that's a real thing. I put a lot of stock into that stuff. Back to like the 90s of like, whoa, if you have a great year, the second year, it's like not only do they get tape on you, but I feel like you relax a little bit, and sometimes that can be a little too much. But obviously something to watch this season. But how about running back Naquan Wrightbag, the former Florida Gator? He's a stud, one of the better backs of the AAC. The receiving core: Mike Brown-Stevens, Sean Adkins back, Weston Wolf at the tight end spot. Not Winston Wolf from Pulp Fiction, Weston Wolf. And 4 or 5 on the O line. And like I mentioned, the kicker backs, if it's a close game, dude, this offense, it's going to be fire. Like assuming no injuries, you can avoid, even the sophomore slump thing happens. He's surrounded by too much returning talent. I don't see this offense being bad.
Nope, not at all. I don't either. I think they're going to be well equipped to deal with whatever defenses in the AAC. It's not a lot of good defenses in the AAC, to be honest with you. And especially on their schedule. Like I said, I'm just more interested to see if he's going to be a little bit more balanced, kind of help out his defense. I think his defense is going to be improved, but I mean, they only have one way to go after what they, gave up, especially through the air. But yeah, man, shout out to Sean Atkins, former walk-on. I think he was the first receiver ever to go over 1,000 yards for the school. So big shout out to him. I think this offense is going to be one of the more fun, not only in the G5, but I think in the whole nation, because they have that kind of star power at every single level.
Yeah. And I can't help but laugh at Dick Gersberger's comment here. You're exactly why. My argument is exactly why Southern Cal hasn't produced a good quarterback since Carson Palmer. Did you watch the NFL draft this past season? just throwing that out there.
As a USC fan, I gotta. We got one that's in the draft. I mean, that's gonna be pretty good, I think.
Yeah, you might have heard about this guy named Caleb Williams. He's. I don't know why so many people dislike him. I don't understand it. Right? Like, he's not to me, he's kind of humble. Like, it's because he was crying after a loss. You know what I mean? Like, I don't who knows what you're battling, right? But it's funny going for the draft, like the lead up for the draft. All these people are asking me. I was a guest on a couple podcasts, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be any good." And I'm like, "Well, what makes you think that? What makes you think that? Like, did you watch some of the throws? Like, to me, he's like, there's like 5 quarterbacks in my life that I can say like I remember watching being able to make throws like that. Maybe 10 quarterbacks, and I'm like." Yeah, sure. I'm sure he needs to fine tune things. And I am skeptical of him getting drafted by the Bears, but I'm like, I don't understand how anyone can get to that opinion without just being like, I don't like the human being.
Yeah, I think
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's more so to do with the latter than it is the actual skill set.
Yeah. Because skill set wise, you see some throws, you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, he got to clean it up a little bit. I mean, he is, a little backyard-esque at times, a little bit. He holds onto the ball, looking for the home run play a little bit too much. Might have had a little bit too much freedom in that Lincoln offense, but I mean, just an unreal athlete. He can run it. He's smart. He doesn't take a lot of hits. I mean, I don't get the Caleb stuff either, but I'm a fan, so that's kind of negates my argument, I guess.
He's a USC fan, folks. So, and a USF fan this year. They did lose QB depth though. Jerry Bohannon in South Florida. Obviously, he gets benched. This is the age-old tale. Yeah, he heads out to BYU. That's an interesting get for BYU. See how he does there. Calfrey Brown was a former North Carolina Tar Heel that transferred to South Florida that now heads to Arkansas to play with Bobby Petrino and his motorcycle offense there. But besides those two pieces, I would say they didn't lose much, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so at all. I mean, maybe, if something happens to Brown, you kind of,
He runs a lot. He does
yeah,
run a lot. So it's
yeah,
like that could play a factor.
right. But I would ask, like, is the offense kind of plug and play? Kind of like it doesn't matter who the quarterback. Obviously, Brown is an upgrade over any of the guys that they have, but I'm guessing it won't be as big of a downgrade as we think because the offense is just ran so smoothly and it's just, just there. It's just a system.
And we've never seen Bryce Archie play, just like we never saw Bynum. Oh, I mean, you did in high school. I didn't. So, maybe he's nasty behind them. I don't know. But they did make this offense a lot better. They brought in Luke Rucker from FAU. UF last year, and they're just like, hey, let's take the third string quarterback and the tight end Finn Jones. Peyton Singletary at the tight end spot, also coming in from Cincinnati. There's a couple big ones here, though. Joshua Cobbs played some in Houston. I thought he was solid. I think that could be a really good get in this offense. Teron Keith coming in from Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers at the running back spot. But then the big one there is the wide receiver, Abdur Rahman Yassin from Purdue. Jeff Brown recruits. I understand, like he only had like 329 yards or something at Purdue, but I trust those wideouts that Brown recruited. You know what I mean? So, and I think Galesh can get the best out of them. Mm-hmm. I think he could be a guy putting up big time stats. If you're playing fantasy, you want a sleeper pick right there. He's projected to start. So, I think they won the transfer portal on offense. Like I said, the only thing would be, it'd be nice. Bohannon's like a 5th year senior or 6th year senior. So like if Brown did get dinged up, that could be an issue, but I think they won the offense. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see a little bit more offensive line depth, but I mean, that's just kind of nitpicking because of, everybody needs offensive line depth. But like I said, they don't play a ton of physical, defenses. So I think they overall won.
Yeah, I would agree. Folks, look, we're going to talk the defensive side of the ball in a second here, but I want to tell you the college football experience is brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, football season is here and the college football and NFL models are now live on Rhythm. Create your own winning betting model or let Rhythm do the heavy lifting for you. You decide what stats matter the most to you, and then Rhythm will build a custom model around that. Or you could just sit back, crack a cold one, and let Rhythm do all of the heavy lifting for you. Figure everything out for you. Rhythm uses AI projections from MIT data scientists and quants. Rhythm already has you covered for NFL Week 1 and college football Week 0. I'm taking the Yellow Jackets plus 13 there in Dublin, Ireland. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Yeah, Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Imagine the regret you'll feel if you win your office pool and you go like 18, 19 weeks without picking a loser. And then you win what? $200 and a fucking, a bowling ball, right? You're just going to be like, damn, if I had just entered the Circa Survivor one, I'd be a millionaire. Because it's true, you would be. If you don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas yet before football season, may I recommend the Ultimate Contest Weekend. It's a great time to go out. You can hang with my pals Stacking the Money Green and Real Money Kramer from the Sports Gambling Podcast, and my guy CJ Sullivan, the Bet Detective from the Bottom Line Bombs Podcast, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd through August 24th. Also use the promo code SGP15 to save you 15% off your hotel room for that weekend. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th. That's when the season kicks, folks. And use a proxy to play from anywhere. It's not like you got to fly back to Vegas every week. We even have a deal with a proxy. Go to proxy.footballcontest.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. All right.
Will you be there with Sean and Ryan?
No, I don't think so, man. I just went for I just went for Mountain West Media Days. Gotcha. And then if I'm gonna go, it's gonna be for the USC LSU game, which would be the very next week.
Yeah, that's my birthday weekend.
Oh, are you going? Are you going?
Yeah, I'm trying to, man. Hopefully, if Kramer and Sean are listening, they can slide me the company car for a birthday.
Let's go.
Weekend.
Let's go.
Yeah, but we're working on trying to get out there for that whole week. Basically, I'm trying to take off that whole week and get out there and do some like covering the game and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm definitely working on it.
Yeah, I might. That's what I'm saying. Like for the party. Look, I love the party, but I have a newborn. I got a
Yeah.
newborn, so it's like you got to pick and choose your battles here, man. I before, if this was a year ago, I'd be there already. You know what I mean? I'd be like, okay, done deal. I'm going out every time they offer me.
Yeah.
But now
Send Patty C in your honor.
yeah, there we go. He's already there in my honor, probably having cocktails. The defensive side of the ball, South Florida. This is the issue, man. This is the issue. And I actually am going to make a point here that, they're 109th in scoring per game. They're giving up just about, 32.5 points a game, 115th in yards, bottom 20 defense for Todd Orlando, but it's year one. 129th in passing. That was a bottom 4 passing team in the nation, folks. And I even think when you are that bad in pass defense, it helps your rush defense because no one ever runs the ball against you. Yep. So I actually don't even believe they're the 47th best rush defense. I think teams like by week 3 were like, let's pass the ball. Mm-hmm. Right. And by doing that, you kind of, I don't even like, to me, I would assume their rush defense would be probably more in the 70s, 80s. Yep. But the fact that, your game plan week in, week out is like, yeah, we gotta test these defensive backs. They're not that good. So I think that number always, when you get to the bottom 10, even the bottom 15 and 20, I think sometimes you'll see a lot of those schools, the rushing stats end up decent. And it's like, well, that's because they're not taking on as much rushes. You know what I mean? Like they're not attacking that part of the defense as much. Those numbers are pretty horrible all across the board. I guess the rush defense from a statistical standpoint was rock solid. What do you make of this defense?
Yeah, man. It's crazy that you just said all that. That's exactly what I have in my breakdown as well. Just that, the metrics can be a little misleading at times simply because you just broke it down perfectly. That's just like teams that play, like, let's just say, for instance, if a team played the service academies on the schedule, obviously their pass defense is going to be, kind of, skewed because they don't pass. So,
it's one of the reasons why people will say like, oh, well, we're a top 20 offense, and sometimes I go, but that can lie to you sometimes.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And I think that's what the Russian stats are doing, because if you're playing a team and they're allowing what these numbers are suggesting, no matter if you got Quinshawn Judkins in the backfield, why would you run them?
Yeah. Well, you're going to sit there and say, we're going to sit there and say, we'll run a little bit, maybe on first down, but every other play is a pass until they stop us. Obviously Todd Orlando's got his work cut out from, Todd Orlando's an interesting DC. I was really bullish on him when he was at Houston a while back with Tom Herman. I know things didn't work out after that. I think he was at USC for a year with Clay Helton. And it just didn't work out for him. But I liked him at Houston. I feel like I liked him at one other stop. I think it was Utah State back in the day. But I think he could be the guy to fix this defense. They do return 8 starters back. There's 2 ways to look at this. Well, you're bringing back you're an older team. You'll understand what coach wants more because you're switching. Last year you're obviously switching defensive philosophies, and that does matter. But also you could say, well, if you guys weren't that good last year, are they going to be that good this year? Because how much can you really grow if you're that bad of a defense? Also, their punter Andrew Stokes is back, so both kicker and punter are back. But you return 3 of they actually 3 of 4 on the D line. They go 4-3, I believe, or 4-2-5. Mac Harris and Schuler back in the linebacking core, and then 3 back in the secondary. It's encouraging, but man, those numbers were bad last year. But it's encouraging. And how about this? The AAC. Yes, Memphis has a high-powered offense. We talked about how the defenses aren't that good, but you also have SMU leaving. That was a high-powered offense. They're no longer there. Army coming in. I would not describe them as a high-powered offense. And then you have like Tulane with a coaching change. I think you could just. I guess I'm making the case that I don't know if it's as high-powered as a year ago. So maybe the numbers can be better than what they were a season ago. It's still encouraging to have 8 back because I do believe like year 2, you understand what the coach wants more. You become wiser with that. They did lose a couple guys in the portal. Tramel Logan to Louisville, I think was one that might matter there. Lloyd Summerall to JMU, Chris Townsend to Kennesaw State, Will Jones to ODU there. I don't know that any are that substantial. I would say Logan to Louisville is one that you definitely want to have. But they brought in a slew. By the way, they kind of raided FAU. 3 or 4 guys from FAU. They got their ass whooped by them last season. They're like, okay, what do we do? What's our plan? We got to play them every year. Well, let's take as many players as we can from their team. Langston Long coming in from Virginia. Virginia's defense was bad last year, but the year before they were pretty good statistically. How about Deshaun Rucker at the corner spot from Tennessee? Obviously, you can tell where the weakness was. Look at what they did right there. Rucker coming in from Tennessee, Banks coming in from South Carolina, Brent Austin from JMU, who had a good defense last season, DeMarco Augustine from Youngstown State, who's a very good FCS school.
Really good.
Yeah, can they? I mean, I'm encouraged. And you look at like the projection on these stats. Or I'm sorry, of like the starting lineup of what everyone's projecting. A lot of these guys are starting. You know what I mean? So, okay, I buy into the defense is going to be a lot better. But the question is, what's a lot better? What would be? You got them in the AAC championship. What do you think? 70s. If they get in the 70s in most spots, they should be in the AAC championship. They won 7-6 last season, right?
Yeah, I mean, even 80, I think is an improvement, obviously, but just how high powered their offense is. I just think you just got to be borderline average. That's it. That's all you got to be is borderline average, and you got to stop the pass. I mean, just looking at I know we're going to go through their schedule, but their schedule of offenses. I mean, outside of Bama and Miami, which they probably weren't going to win anyway. I mean, they're going to play against Rice, who throws the ball a lot, FAU, Memphis, UAB. So you gotta be, by that time they got to be entrenched in the new scheme. They got a lot of new players. I think DeMarco was going to be really good at safety. The thing was they had good technique. Like they took the ball away. I think they had a decent amount of interceptions, a decent amount of pass breakups, but they had no discipline. Like they would always like try to pick 6 and then they would get beat for a touchdown. So if they can get that discipline in there. And I don't know how good the front 7 is because nobody ran the ball on them. So we'll see a lot in year 2. Obviously I think year 2 is a stepping stone for new coaches. I like the continuity that they have on staff. So, although it's a lot of pieces, they got a lot of depth and you can never go wrong with a lot of depth. If one guy's not doing a job, you got another guy that can come in and do a little bit better job, hopefully. So, I think it's an improvement for them. I'm looking forward to seeing how well they mesh together though.
I just previewed FAU the other night, maybe last night, or I think it was 2 nights ago. Tom Herman's in year 2 there, right? And they barely return anybody. So it has me much more weary. South Florida had a better first year than Herman, but Herman had, he lost his QB for the year, stuff like that. But the fact they're returning so much is so encouraging. It makes me feel so much different about my approach to liking this team as, say, FAU. The win total is sitting at 7, and I should bring up that it is the overs at -125, the unders at +105. So Vegas is saying 7-5, but we think 8-4 is more likely than 6-6. Are you surprised that it's only at 7?
Well, depending on how you look at their schedule, I think the number is like spot on. To be honest, I got them at exactly 7. But like you said, more 8 than 7 because a couple of these toss-up games. I mean, you get FAU on the road, you get Memphis after a bye, and if they can stay healthy and improve with the secondary, I mean, I think they can win 9 games, maybe even double digits. Because the only surefire losses I see are, I guess I think they could 9 because Bama, Miami, and then at Tulane is going to be real tough.
Can we really say the Miami one is a for sure loss? I've watched I'm high on, like, they spent a lot of money, but I'm saying like Miami has lost to like Florida International the last time they played them. That USF has beaten Miami.
That's fair.
I mean, yes, on paper Miami is just, they're going to have way more draft picks than South Florida. So I get your logic, but I'm just saying, like, Miami's a team that loses to teams they shouldn't lose to all the time.
Yep,
so the win total 7, the odds to win the AAC championship plus 650. So if you're like Lante and thinks that they're going to be in the championship, or even myself, I think coming into it, I think they're one of the teams that will be in the mix. I think, man, plus 650 is pretty nice payout there. Plus 1,500 to make the 12-team playoff, and plus 100,000 there to win the Natty. But let's talk about the schedule, man. Look at the retro logo right there for the South Florida Bulls. Yeah, they gotta rep that every once in a while. If South Florida gets FIU got this deal with Pitbull, who could South Florida get?
T-Pain.
There we go. Right? Is he from Tampa?
I think he's from Tallahassee.
Okay. But hey, maybe you can finagle that.
Yeah.
Week 1, they get Bethune-Cookman. I think they'll put up they're going to put up 60 points against Bethune-Cookman. Yeah. Sorry, BC.
They're not very good this year.
Yeah, I feel for you. But then week 2, you are heading to Bryant-Denny Stadium to take on Alabama. I'll say this: you kept it within 14. No, it was in a monsoon, but that was Nick Saban. Kalen DeBoer, who I think Kalen DeBoer is a fantastic football coach, but I'm just saying, you got to like it a little bit more than when you looked at this game last season. So I'll take Bama.
yeah, I'm taking Bama. You know what? I think that Brown would have gave Saban fits. Saban usually doesn't do well against running quarterbacks.
That's true.
Like if you just look at his history, doesn't do well with running quarterbacks. I think Brown would have gave him a fit, especially with the offensive scheme that Alex runs there. But yeah, I'm going Bama. I think Bama will come in pissed off. Milroe will probably have a point to prove because he got benched during that game.
That's true.
So yeah, I think that might be Bama's first home game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't see them winning that. But then they have, now here's what I do worry about, and I don't know that this will translate as well. There was a stat a few I don't know, like a year or two ago that was out about teams' records after playing Bama. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're buying into that still, because Saban's still like involved with the program in a way. Was that spring practice? Kind of weird. If that was me, I would not want to do that to the next coach. But if it is a body blow game, then all of a sudden Southern Miss is thinking we could win this thing in Hattiesburg at the Rock. That's actually a underrated crowd. I think South Florida is way ahead of Southern Miss, but I think the spot is genius for Southern Miss to pull the upset there. I'll take South Florida, but watch out, because another thing is it's a look ahead because you got Miami on deck. It's a sneaky game. That's a sneaky game, man. That is a very, like, I almost think like Southern, like I'll tell you this. Flash forward 2 weeks or a month into the season here, you're going to hear me on this very show saying, "Give me Southern Miss in the points, sprinkle a little bit on the money line."
Yeah, I got Southern Miss at I got South Florida favored by 13, so we'll see how that works out. But I'll take the points though. If it's anything,
yeah, that's what I'm about to say. Give me the points.
Yeah,
it's just it's a distraction game too, man. Yeah. It's like you just come off Bama. So we got them at 2-1, and then they do take on the Miami Hurricanes. Please win this game. Please win this fucking game. This would be so great. I got to favor Miami because I think Cam Ward's a baller, and I like, as much as I think Mario Cristobal, like I've been a kind of a hater on Mario Cristobal from a coaching front, really his whole career. so like, I do think South Florida, like he's been like, he got the Miami job because he's at Oregon. Oregon pays more than every other team, in the Pac-12. So it's like, was I super impressed with his job at Oregon? No, I wasn't. If anything, I think coaching blunders happen left and right when he was at Oregon, and you saw it last year with Georgia Tech. So that means they could have a shot to win this game, but on paper, the roster is much, much better. So I will take Miami.
Yeah, I'll take Miami as well. Did you know that Cristobal was roommates with Shapiro, I think, or he's like double billionaire related. Like his wife's brother is a billionaire, and it's just crazy. He lives a good life. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I bet.
He lives a good life. But yeah, I mean, if you can't win the Pac-12 with Justin Herbert as your quarterback.
Well, I remember like the first preseason game for the Chargers. Herbert like drops back, and I go, "Whoa, why?" I mean, I knew he was like skilled at Oregon, but I didn't see that. And I was how did they fuck that up? Right?
All that speed, all that money got, like you just like, yeah, man. So bad.
He's just to me, he's not the greatest of coaches. Now, by the way, I forgot to do the power rankings on the right. So forgive me there. So Bethune-Cookman is not the hardest game on the schedule. Just don't pay attention to those numbers on the right. We got them 2-2 after 4. They head to Yeoman at Tulane. I do have Tulane winning this. And I will say, if you have Tulane winning this game, which I think you do, I think it makes it very hard for South Florida to get to the AAC championship. You're going to need Tulane to sputter a few more times then. Yep. I think it's a pivotal game. And I think if you're a Tulane fan, what better time than getting them after like they're playing, the big brother, you know what I mean? I think it's a great spot for Tulane to get them. So, yeah, I got them 2-3 going into the first bye week. How about you?
Yeah, I got them 2-3. I do think that my philosophy is thinking that Tulane I think they have a tougher strength of schedule at the bottom. So I think that they'll drop a few. And I also think that this will be a perfect time after the bye to kind of buy on South Florida, because they'll be, under 500. They'll get a lot of games at home. They'll get the bigger games at home, Memphis, UAB. They get another bye before they go to Florida Atlantic, which is probably it's a tricky spot because of that pass defense. So if it's not up to par, then it's going to be tested out. Well, I mean, we're going to find out against Memphis and Miami as well. But yeah, I got them losing this game, but I think it'll be a potential buy spot. So if you want to look for, updated futures to get South Florida to kind of win the conference, I think that's a perfect spot to get them.
And I like the bye week here because you load up, and Memphis will be another one of these teams you will be battling, and the tiebreaker could be pivotal. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't like where the Tulane is on the schedule, but I do like where Memphis is on the schedule and getting a bye week to focus on the Tigers. Give me an upset here. I forget, what did we say on the Memphis preview here? Did I say?
We both went with South Florida. Yep. I
like that. And then Trent Dilfer and UAB. I'm still excuse me if I may interject, Lou Holtz.
Well, I don't get the head coach.
Still, that's my reaction to the hiring of Trent Dilfer at UAB. We'll see if it works out. It came out of complete left field to me. So I got them winning both those, bouncing back. At that point, they would have a winning record. At what? That would be at 4-3. You got them at 4-3?
Yes, sir. I do. Yep.
Then they get their second bye week, and then they're at Florida Atlantic, which is the revenge spot. Florida Atlantic, I don't know how. I got to go back and watch that game again. I don't know how the fuck they beat them that bad, because Casey Thompson was already.
Yeah, he was done.
Yeah, he was already done for the season. So makes me a little weary, because like in my head, I'm like, oh, South Florida is way better than Florida Atlantic, but I'm like, how the fuck did they do that last year? I think revenge is on the mind. Give me the Bulls, but I don't feel that great about it.
Yeah, I got it a close spread as well, but I think revenge factor, and I think maybe it had something to do with the game. I think they might have been in a sandwich spot. Florida Atlantic might have been a sandwich spot. They were looking ahead or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I got South Florida winning this one.
Then they're home to the Navy Midshipmen, which I think is a win. Where you at with the Navy Midshipmen game?
Yeah, I mean, they can't pass, so we're going to find out how good that run defense is, because it's going to be tested to the fullest. I think that'll be it.
They're running single wing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yep. So I like South Florida there.
This is where it all comes crashing down for me. I'm high on Biff Poggi and Charlotte this year.
Yeah.
And you know why I think this is a bad matchup I know South Florida put it on Charlotte last year, but that's part of the reason why, right? And yeah, I think this is a team that is built entirely differently than the way South Florida is building it, which I think inevitably, I know last year didn't give them fits. They didn't have the guys to do it last year. I think this year they're a little bit stronger. I'm calling for an upset here in Jerry Richardson or whatever the fuck they call that stadium now, right? I know they can't call it that name. They changed the name. I don't know. Whatever it is down there, Charlotte, the Clits are getting it done against South Florida as an upset. I know that's a crazy upset because they'll probably be double-digit point dogs.
Yeah, I got them winning here, but that's a good spot for Charlotte, and especially to kind of beat up on them in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Charlotte, I think, will be a physical team. I mean, they're kind of made up. I think we talked about it on the Memphis podcast when we were talking about Charlotte. They're kind of built like Michigan. I mean, obviously not talent-wise, but just the way that Biff builds his teams. Yeah. So I think it'll be a tough game, especially off of those. They'll be on I'll have them on a 4-game winning streak then. So going on the road again, it's going to be tough, but I think they pull it out.
I'll say this: if they don't get Charlotte, if Charlotte doesn't get them, then Tulsa will.
Oh, see, I'm lower on Tulsa.
I think Kevin Wilson's a really good coach, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I think he'll have. They were ahead of schedule for me last year, even though they didn't have a good team. I just thought you look at the games, I was like they were competitive, way more competitive, considering how many players left. So I got them losing one of those two. If I'm wrong about Charlotte, then give me Tulsa. And another thing is Tulsa's got a history of winning in Florida against UCF and South Florida, more than I think people realize. And I seems like you have them beating Tulsa.
Yeah, I got them beating Tulsa and then losing to Rice at home. I think Rice will be a tough game.
I got them beating Rice. I got them beating Rice there, but we're good. Wait, so you have two losses in conference, right?
Yep, 2. Yep.
I think I do 2. It could be 3. I think that Tulsa game is key, but they will be in the mix. These tiebreakers are going to be insane.
Yeah, they are.
In my head, I'm like, because I have Tulane, I think only losing 1, so Tulane's in there. But I also have ECU. I think ECU's got a genius schedule. I know that's crazy. They're doing 2 games last year, but I'm saying I like their schedule and I like their team, especially like their NIL collective stepping up and paying a little bit more than a lot of these other AAC schools.
Yeah.
But
did you donate to that?
Maybe a little maybe on the microphone. How about that? Right? I plug it. Boneyard NIL collective. Let's go. Let me tell you this though. I don't know. I'm doing the UTSA preview later tonight because that's another intriguing one where right now, if the way it breaks down, I got them beating Memphis. So if Memphis has 2 losses, South Florida would have the tiebreaker on that. ECU and UTSA do not play South Florida. Yeah. So I don't know what the hell they'll do if UTSA has 2 losses too, or ECU has 2 losses too. This is where it gets tricky. Do they go strength of record in conference? Because if so, I think ECU and South Florida are then fucked because ECU and South Florida have a kind of a favorable in-conference schedule. Yeah. How many teams will be bowling? Besides Tulane and Memphis,
that's it.
Maybe Florida Atlantic,
maybe Rice.
Yeah, maybe Rice. I think Tulsa might be able to. But I can't say it definitively. You know what I mean? So therefore, when I look at UTSA's schedule, if they go by this metrics, once again, each conference changes that around and they haven't even released them yet. So that is an interesting element of that to pay attention to, but I think it makes that Memphis game so key. But yeah, I mean, I think when it's all said and done, you're looking at, I have them at 8-4. I'm on the over. I mean, I think what's the ceiling here? What if they do upset Miami? They're hosting Miami. Yeah. The ceiling is dude, ceiling to me is 11-1 or 10-2, right?
Yeah, I think 10 is the ceiling. Because I think if they upset Miami, then they got room for another slip up. So I think 10-2 is kind of the cap there. I think I got them at 9-3 if I'm not mistaken.
They need to watch out for that Southern Miss game. You want to know how this? If I'm okay, well, we gave you best case scenario. I'm going to give you the worst case scenario. Yeah. Worst case scenario, you drop 70 on Bethune, and you're feeling great about yourself, and then Alabama beats the absolute shit out of you, and then it is a body blow game, and then Southern Miss at the Rock catches you, and then guess what? After that, you're playing Miami, body blow game. Then after that, you start out 1-4, and the vibe in the locker room, you start losing. You know how that is. Sometimes you just like, hey, fuck you. It's your fault. No, it's your fault. And then you lose that Memphis game, and all of a sudden you're 1-5, and you played really good teams for the most part, right? Mm-hmm. That's how the wheels fall off to me. Is then it's like, okay, you beat UAB, but then maybe you lose the FAU game. Maybe you lose that Charlotte game. What is the floor to you?
Yeah, I'll go back to something that you said. Two things that you said earlier in the show. If Brown has that sophomore slump and he just can't will the offense, I think they had a floor of like 6, to be honest. Because like you mentioned, Bama, Southern Miss is tricky. Miami at Tulane, Memphis.
It's really the first half, right?
Yeah, I think they can beat UAB, but you can slip up, like you said, at Florida Atlantic, at Charlotte, at Rice. You finish 3 of 5 on the road. So if the vibes aren't good in between those 2 buys, then who knows where their head's at? Where their mind is. So I'm thinking like 6 would be the floor.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 5. I don't know, man, because I think like that. There's just a chance in that Southern Miss game that they could fuck up. Like, and then the fact you don't really get. You'd like to get like the UAB and Navy game before Memphis or something. I'm thinking like floor 5 and 7, 4 and 8, something like that. But I don't think that's going to happen. Like I said, I got them 8 and 4. I think the over's the play. I think, the offense will be probably the second best offense in the league.
Yeah, it's going them and Memphis.
Florida, or I'm sorry, Memphis, and then them. Yeah, and then maybe like UTSA's way ahead of schedule, or Tulane. But I think their offense is certainly up there. I know North Texas scores a shit ton of points. They just can't play defense, so maybe I should throw them in the mix too. But I'm on the over. I like I said, folks, if you're over there, it's -125 on the over. But I think it's actually, and if you're like Lante here, and I like even me. If I got him at 4, I got him 2 losses in the AAC via tiebreaker. It might be a pretty smart play to jump on the +650 then, because they don't play UTSA and ECU, who could be in the mix there. It's going to be super intriguing to see how they do this with the tiebreaker there. So, yeah, I think it's worth the sprinkle on that +650.
Yeah, or if you just shop around, but I know at Circa they have basically like who makes it to the championship game. So I think that price there should be a pretty good price as well for them to actually make it, not even have to win, just make it to the championship game. I think they still have those markets up, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Circa.
Hold on. I think I can actually grab that right now. Is that's a great point, because then you're asking them to beat Memphis. +260 to make it to the AAC championship game. Yeah. Folks, jump on over there. I'm on the over. Lante's on the over. Give him a follow on Twitter or X or whatever you're calling it, at XXLanteXX. Also check out the MLB gambling podcast, the NBA gambling podcast, all of his work. He's been writing these great college football articles, sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Appreciate you hopping on the show, Latte. And I'm sure we'll be texting each other about each week. Don't slip up in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, because that's where I get terrified on this over. I'm on Twitter at @TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Check out the College Basketball Experience. South Florida was a fun team.
Oh yeah,
a season ago, and I look forward to catching them again, this year. And I think they got a good thing going. Also check out the College Baseball Experience and the FCS College Football Experience. Maybe you want a deep dive on Bethune-Cookman. Let's go. Hop on over there. All of those come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Hit that like and subscribe button if you can, folks. And what else do we got? The Stadium Heads podcast. Yes, where we talk about the history of college football and all the college football stadiums out there and what makes college football so great and so unique. We're not the biggest fan of NFL stadiums for college football teams. So we're super, super excited. South Florida is getting a stadium on campus. Me and Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour, the host of Stadium Heads. So check that out. We're going to do a deep dive on their new stadium that's being built. And, we still appreciate if you're starting your football program, much like South Florida had to do, much like UTSA had to do, they use their local pro arena or stadium. I'm okay with that. If that's what it takes for you to start we were just talking pre-episode about UNC Greensboro and why they should start their football program, right? I'm okay with them. Look, I understand A plus B equals C here. Like you start your program, you play wherever you can for the cheapest amount that you can to build up and start winning games. And then eventually that payoff comes with TV contracts and everything else. And then you can build your own stadium on campus. South Florida is a perfect example of that. So I'm not going to knock you too much for playing at Raymond James. You do what you got to do, but check out the Stadium Heads. We talk more about that on that podcast. Also check out the Sports Gambling Podcast and the Bottom Line Bob's podcast, as well as the MLB Gambling Podcast as the season winds down. Check it all out, folks. Till next time, this is the South Florida Bowls 2024 season preview episode. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here. Run and shoot.